following is an excerpt from Part 2 of the How to Lucid Dream and Have Out-of-Body Experiences presentation series. Part 2 covers how to do Wake Induced Lucid Dreams, or WILDs, using teleporting OBEs. To do that, we learn how to create a space in your subconscious that you can immerse your focus into to have a WILD. As you relax into a WILD, you'll start to see environmental clues that you're nearing a dream even though you're not in a dream yet. You will start to pick up memory impressions of these clues. For instance, you may find you have the memory that someone had just said something even though at the time you didn't consciously hear anything. You might also recall that a moment ago you were looking at a landscape and that you remember what the landscape looked like, but you can't remember the exact moment the landscape came into view. The landscape is a concept that you find has been impressed into your short-term memory, much as if you were to impress the shape of a word into clay. You might not know how the impression got there, but you do have the information that the impression represents. The onset of these memory impressions is one of the first signs that you're entering a good trance. Remote viewers usually access memory impressions while they're fully conscious, and in fact you can access memory impressions at any level of relaxation. However, most often you'll encounter them during fairly deep relaxation. In the course of your lucid dreaming induction, you may find a lot of times memory impressions seem to be the result of dipping in and out of coherency. You dip down, pick something up, waver up again, and find that you have an impression. Once you're back in conscious coherency, you are operating with your perceptual filters again, so you can't remember how you got the impression. However, at deeper levels of trance, there is no dipping in and out of coherency, and you find that you are starting to get a steady stream of impressions. That is a good sign that you're on the right track. The reason memory impressions are a good sign is they mean you're opening up a space in your subconscious. Our eventual goal in this presentation is to open that subconscious space wide enough that you can immerse your conscious focus into it. In doing so, you'll complete the WILD. One effective way to open a subconscious space is to use your imagination to fill it with detailed imagery, for instance by visualizing something. In astrodynamics, Robert Bruce makes the very good point that when you start out visualizing something such as a rotating cube, you probably do not literally see the cube in your mind's eye. Some people actually do see the cube as solidly in their mind's eye as they see their physical surroundings right off the bat. But for most people, at the initial stages you're only thinking about the shape of the cube, and you don't literally see it. So the term conceptualization is more accurate at that point in the process. Nevertheless, once the trance has progressed to a certain point, you will enter a dream environment in which you literally do see what you are visualizing. In other words, for most people, visualization is a process and not an instantaneous thing. In this presentation, we often use the word imagery. However, the sensations you are gathering may be for any sense and not just visual. Frequently, you also pick up audible and tactile impressions, sometimes even taste and smell. In fact, one wild trick we'll cover in a future presentation is to solidify imagery by invoking a strong feeling of emotion. There are many ways to sense things. Ingo Swann has identified at least 17 different types of senses he uses in his studies of remote viewing. You can read his descriptions on his website at www.biomindsuperpowers.com. How to sense where the real imagery comes from using the shifted blackboard trick. When you first close your eyes, you'll likely see nothing but blackness, and a little later on, you'll see various firework-type effects and random colors. These are known as hypnagogic imagery, but they're not what we're after. Don't focus too hard on the swirling imagery because it puts your attention in the wrong place. The imagery we do seek is more like it's directly in your mind, yet is projected in a space that seems like it's in the behind-the-eyelid blackness. The following is a trick you can use to get a feeling of where in your mind to expect the real imagery to be found. When you close your eyes, you can see a fairly rectangular area of blackness. Outside that area, you can't see anything, but you can imagine there is something outside your field of view. It's the imagination part of your awareness that the imagery comes from, not the physical blackness that you can see. We can use a method to merge the visible blackness with your invisible imagination. We do that by imagining two blackboards. Pretend that the rectangular blackness is a blackboard that you can write on. Then pretend There is also an imaginary blackboard of the same size that's outside your field of view and is directly below the visible blackness. Now slide the imaginary blackboard up so that it is partially in the area you can see and partially in the area you cannot see. This will cause the blackboards to be halfway overlaid on each other. Now you have a focus on both your physical sight and your imaginary awareness. Imagine writing something such as the number 5 with white chalk on the imaginary blackboard, so that part of the letter is in your sight and part is imaginary. Do this procedure when you're on the awake-asleep threshold, and it will help you to get actual visuals you can see. When you can actually see the 5 that you're writing, you will be focused into your non-physical senses enough to be able to try for an OBE. You will notice the 5 you see is really in a slightly different part of your awareness than the usual blackness you see behind your eyelids. The more practice you get at focusing your awareness on that slightly different area, the easier it will be for you to enter a wild. Please visit the SaltCube website at www.saltcube.com, where you can access a forum where you can report and record your progress using an online dream journal, or you can simply post a message to chat with people. If you have questions or are stuck with a problem, you can post a message on the forum, then someone who has encountered that situation can help you. That wraps it up for this presentation. Thanks and good luck.